Browsing the web is a shared pastime, whether we're quickly searching for a recipe, answering a question, or simply looking for something to capture our interest. The internet always has the answer. But what happens when we dig a little deeper? Where might the hidden corners of the web take us? With the internet being over 30 years old, many fascinating relics and forgotten treasures exist. That's where this series comes in. Today we're diving into some digital archaeology to unearth the abandoned corners of the internet once more. Our first website on our search is called Hour of the Time. This website will require some backstory to understand what it is and why it exists. For now, let's explore what the website has to offer. Hour of the Time, or HOT for short, is listed as the #1 source of truth on the internet. That's a bold claim to make. Immediately to the right of the title is an ad for what looks to be a book about Oklahoma City. Or not. It cycles to talking about the OKC bombing, a tragic event that took place in the 90s. Hour of the Time. The quest for the truth begins here. This is the motto of the website and a promise. You can probably already start to gauge what this website's story might be, just from this quote and the book mentioned above. But let's keep going. Below all this is another quote. Listen to everyone, read everything, believe nothing unless you can prove it in your own research. The second quote is attributed to someone named William Cooper. We are greeted by a picture of a woman and 2 kids. Another quote from William Cooper accompanies it. God bless my family. I love my wife and children more than life itself. Everything I do is for the future of my children. They may not understand why I have sacrificed so much, why I am so dedicated to this work, but someday they will. I want them to know they are the most important people in my life, and how very, very much I love them. What work is Cooper talking about here? From context clues, we can see that he is a self-proclaimed truth seeker. He is someone who says to only trust facts that you can verify. That's usually the correct way to go about doing research. But what work and what truth is Cooper seeking? The rest of the site has times for the Hour of the Time shortwave broadcasts, which no longer exist. There's also a transcript website, which doesn't work. Below that section is a biography of William Cooper. There are 2 more quotes to go along with it. Learn the history behind William Cooper, the most dangerous radio host in America. William Cooper is the most dangerous radio host in America, Rush Limbaugh, during his broadcast quoting from a White House memo shortly after the Oklahoma City bombing. If you haven't picked up on it yet, this is the website of a man who used to be a broadcast host and also a conspiracy theorist. William Cooper is actually very well known in conspiracy circles. He even wrote a book that circulated heavily in the scene, and he was also a major influence on Alex Jones. Before we get into more about who William Cooper is, let's hear what this website dedicated to him has to say first. William Cooper was brought up in an Air Force family and claims to have graduated from a Japanese high school. He claims that this is where his worldview was built while traveling around the world when growing up. He then served with the Air Force for a time before joining the Navy during Vietnam. During this time, he held a secret clearance. Due to this, he claimed to have seen documents linking the government to aliens, the Knights Templar, and a secret world government covering it all. This would come later though. First, he mentions his military service. Cooper was a QM1, Quartermaster First Class. He would then go to college for a degree in photography. He then established a few businesses in Long Beach, California, both of which were successful, at least according to this website, but I couldn't verify any of that. This would lead him to make a few documentaries covering typical conspiracy topics. One was about the Kennedy assassination, which is always a popular topic in conspiracy circles, though his takes were completely different than most of what's already out there. The other is about alien spacecrafts being crafted in secret black projects by the government. This is also where the topic of the webpage finally comes in. He was the host of the Hour of the Time broadcast, a conspiracy radio show that he ran from his home in Arizona. It was on Monday through Thursday evenings. William Cooper is also an author, having written the prolific Behold a Pale Horse. This book is very popular within militia groups in the US for its portrayal of the government as an enemy of the people, one that could only be fought with violence. A violent rhetoric that would have a lasting effect on several conspiracy groups operating today in the United States. Another book was published under the supervision of William, but not written by him. This book uses a conspiracy that he perpetuated, though. It was called Oklahoma City, Day 1. It is supposed to be an accurate description of what, according to the author, actually happened during the OKC bombing in 1995. Shortly after that bombing, a White House memo was read out naming William Cooper as the most dangerous radio host in America. This is a title that William Cooper held dearly. The reason he was named this is because the person behind the bombing was heavily influenced by the Hour of the Time broadcast and William Cooper. He was a fan, and the conspiracies played a part in what brought him to commit the terrorist attack. The biography then names his family and a few friends, claiming that William Cooper is fighting for truth and freedom for all people. This would be the last line in the biography if it wasn't for an update at the very bottom. Update: Bill was killed by the Apache County Sheriff's Department during a raid on his home in November of 2001. He is now buried on a hill in Eagar, Arizona. This was the end of one of the most prolific conspiracy theories of all time. There's honestly so much more to this man and the things he believed. There's a whole 349-page FBI document about the man and everything he's done. It's something I'd like to make an entire video on someday, so let's get back to the site for now. There isn't more to see on the website itself. It does link to other pages, one being an updated version of the Hour of the Time hosting site. The last update on the modern site was from 2018. It has a few things, but most of these links are empty. I can't find the transcripts or past broadcasts either. After a bit more digging, I was able to find the MP3 files for every broadcast, just about. These can be viewed online, and you don't need to download them. There are 1,926 broadcasts to watch, most covering conspiracies ranging from climate change to flying saucers. There are also quite a few files missing, and some just don't have MP3s attached. So not all of them were properly archived. This site is a digital grave for a man who thought the world was different than it was presented. I'm not sure who is paying to keep this website going, but I'm guessing it's his family or a friend of his. There's a copyright date at the bottom going from 1999 to 2002, which is around the time when Cooper died. There's not a whole lot more to see on the website besides that, though. Let's keep looking and see what else the internet is hiding.
Hey, we can take care of all that before we go.
Yeah, right.
Oh, with America Online.
America Online can do all that?
Yeah. How about sending your mom some nice flowers? All you do is click on Marketplace. We place an order.
Call now for America Online, a new way to use your computer to communicate, have fun, and get instant news and information.
While exploring the old web, I found something that is a product of its time. This is SensationBot, a chatbot that you can hold a conversation with. The website is rudimentary and lacks any sort of flair, but it offers 6 different chat options for us to try out. I've encountered a few chatbots before. This wasn't my first, but it was far older than any I've tried. Maybe they'll have some insight into the world of AI that I never knew existed. First, we have general chat. Let's ask it some questions. So this bot isn't the most intelligent. It hardly responds to anything I say. It claimed to be Homer Simpson as a joke, then told me its name was ShimmerBot, which is the newer version of SensationBot, I guess. I then asked it about YouTube. It said that it watches a lot of cat videos. I had to immediately follow this up with a question about Ben. It didn't have an answer about Ben. It just told me that the Earth wasn't flat. Thanks, I guess. I asked if Ben drowned, and it again didn't answer me. It just told me that it was designed to laugh or something. I asked it to tell me a joke, and it gave me a profound speech about knowing the truth about something. Something that it couldn't tell me. I did ask, but it continued to not tell me about this secret truth only it knew. It then asked me where I am. I repeated the same question back to it, and it told me that the world is beautiful and it has no idea where it came from. Just that it knows where it's going. Another profound answer. I left this chat and checked out the next tab. This one was described as an awkward bot. It asked about my internet friends first, a strange starting question for sure. Then it told me that it wanted to walk with me in the mornings, asked where we were going, and it answered that it just wanted to take a walk with me. The bot again asked me where I lived. I told it that I wasn't going to dox myself. It responded that I was the bot and that it was the human. You got me there, I guess. The bot and I got stuck on a loop of asking me to ask it questions so we could get to know each other better. Every question led to another question, though. The next chat was for 18 plus, and it took about 2 sentences before I left it on red. Which led me to Smack Talk Bot. This one didn't even respond to a single thing I said, it just hurled insults at me. It even told me a yo mama joke, which was pretty telling of the period the site was active. There was one more chatbot function called 2000s Chat, which is supposed to mimic how a person in the 2000s would have typed in a chat room. This link didn't work though, so I was left with a group of chats that didn't work properly. There is a history section on the website that shows the progress made over the years. The bot was created in 1993 and was even more basic than it is now. The most used phrase the bot would use was, "I don't understand," which seemed to act as a failsafe if the chat wasn't able to read the words being typed to it. The next update came in 95. The bot didn't get much better, but it was able to have a conversation with itself. This is a huge step for chatbots, but not impressive by today's standards. The updates continued into the early 2010s. The bot was considered 100% operational, but it wasn't perfect. The future was supposed to take this bot into modern tech, but it appears to have been abandoned some time ago. There hasn't been any updates since July of 2010. The FAQ section goes over some basic questions, but there's not much more to see on the site. It's an interesting novelty, but with how advanced ChatGPT and other AI services are, this could never stand a chance. The world has come so far since Cleverbot even. One day, I'll get a bot to answer my questions about Ben though. While exploring the world of Necro cities, I came across a fascinating website. Here is Adrift. There's this boat that floats on the psychedelic stream of water. The rapid colors and shifting of the sky create a captivating visual. The only thing that needs to be added is the music. For some reason, there is no music to go along with this visual cacophony. I'm not sure if the music just isn't playing for me or what. So I found some songs that could match this. Here are the options I have so far. Other than being a very interesting screensaver, I can't find anything else of interest on this page. This is just another look into some of the creations the internet has hidden from us. So let's move on to the next one.
Great prices and expert advice. ebworld.com. We're inside your world. Find the monster on our homepage for a hot deal.
Our next website is called washedashore.com. It's a personal website for a man named Ben Disco. It's a pretty simple website, like many of the personal websites of the 90s. Its final update was in 2012, with a life story update being added. Browsing the site tells the story of an interesting man. Ben was interested in the internet on a philosophical level. He talks about it in a few of his posts. He considers the internet to be a place, a cyberspace. The real interests of Ben lied in the virtual. He has a huge collection on virtual terrain called the Virtual Terrain Project. On this website, you'll find all sorts of virtual creations, from buildings to plants. It's all in high detail as well. Ben seemed to have a knack for technology and wanted to create a virtual world. All the assets are free for educational purposes as well. He claims that the assets have already helped students to learn how to implement 3D terrain into their projects. A lot of this stuff is pretty impressive, especially for the period. There's so much to look at here, but what about the rest of the website? There's another section on virtual humans. Essentially, Ben dreamed of a creation where a real-time physical simulation of a human interacting with its virtual environment was viable. From 95 to 97, these seemed like impossibilities, though now there are simulations that do this. I'm not sure what his exact idea of interaction was. He admits in the notes section that these things already exist in movies and games, but it's not to the extent of a simulation. Everything has to be pre-programmed for them to be interacted with. His dreams seem to be a fully functioning AI simulation, where the virtual humans can interact freely with their environment. Ben overall seems to have a fascination with new technologies. Many of the pages here talk about different technologies emerging and in theory. Some are things that never took off, while others are in existence today. There are a lot of links to personal info and affairs. He lists his entire family tree on the website. He also has pictures of himself at various ages. There is clearly a lot of love put into this personal site. The life story is pretty interesting, but a very long read. He's led an interesting life, and all that is captured forever here on the internet.
For you, Intel's Web Outfitter service. Everything you need for a great internet experience. Rock with your favorite bands for live concert webcasts.
Sometimes there are websites that you can't find the purpose behind. I floated around many of these old websites and forums trying to find something that surprises me. I found something that seems like there could be more, but finding it will be hard. Gandalf.com is a website from the late 90s with its last change in the year 2000. If you click on the site, this is what you'll see. A gray stone hallway greets you and appears to be in motion. It blurs around the edges and begs you to come closer. There's something off about the presentation. It feels like it's forcing you to come closer and you can't fight it. Near the center of the hallway is a picture frame. It's hard to make out exactly what it is. The dark shapes and odd pairings make it seem like a monster of some kind. There's a spiral form on the image. It appears to be a painting. You can stare at this all day, but there is one other option. You can click the image. You now zoom into the image, which appears to be a woman with black wild shapes for hair. She doesn't look human. White text will greet you with a simple but ominous message. Gandalf is busy. Please go away. Further clicking on the image doesn't do anything. This is Gandalf.com, an internet anomaly that has stumped users since its inception. There really isn't a whole lot else to go off of here either. No one has come any closer to cracking the code of what this might mean. However, that hasn't stopped people from trying. The website has been a common topic on the Internet Mysteries subreddit. There have been some leads to follow, but only one that matters. The man behind the website has been found, a man named Dan Cowper. Unfortunately, just finding the man wasn't enough, as he hasn't responded to any inquiries into what Gandalf.com might mean. The website is so interesting, but the story feels less so. Still a cool and potentially creepy website. Too bad it didn't live up to its potential. Well, maybe something will come of it all someday.
$2,500,000 books, so it's remarkably easy.
I can look up such as Mediterranean cooking, and I find 57 books on the subject.
While exploring the world of abandoned websites, I stumbled across an old MMO. Or at least, I think it's an MMO. The website was crude, but the logo seemed interesting to me. I wasn't sure if I should cover it since there was an apparent update on June of 2024, but looked at the player numbers and saw that it was virtually abandoned. This would be my next adventure into the abandoned virtual worlds that litter the internet. Firstly, I looked through the website to find out how to download the game. So you have to make an account before the option is made available to you. I downloaded the game and waited for an archaic system to install. With the download finally done, I started the system and was met with an old school game launcher. This was not uncommon for the older PC games. In fact, Baldur's Gate 3 still has a separate launcher, as does Final Fantasy XIV. This launcher had music that was ear-splittingly loud, but easy enough to lower. This is what you're met with when you start up the game. This thing has had updates, but it still looks and sounds like it came from a version of the old internet. The options are limited, and it doesn't look great. but it works for what it is. It gives you two options for servers. You can play on the PvE or PvP server. I clicked on the PvE server and was ready to do some exploring. Only that didn't happen. The game would not let me log in. There was some issue that was preventing me from getting past the first screen. I would click and it wouldn't open. This went on for an hour. I decided to check out the forums, but they were pretty barren as expected. I did find a workaround. I bought the game on Steam for $30 and was able to get it to work through there. I would sadly have to lose $30 for this game that I probably wasn't going to enjoy. A price for doing some digging, I guess. I started the character creator and made the most generic looking character I could. I wanted to get into the game as quickly as possible. I left most of the stuff as it was. This is not a very good looking character, but that's okay. It'll work for my purposes. I loaded up with visual glitches greeting me. There was a frame stutter happening as well. This game looked like it came out in 2011 for sure. The game was playable in both first and third person, and I decided to explore in both perspectives to see what I liked. I found an animal right outside of the main city. It was someone's pet, so maybe I'd find a player here or something. I wandered out of the main city and saw a colorful sky as the sun was cresting behind the mountains. There were structures everywhere, probably made by other players, I assume. There were loads of pets around, but I hadn't seen any wildlife yet. I picked the hunter skill, so I assumed I'd be able to hunt for my food. I continued around the structures, but there wasn't anything calling to me among them. This is when I noticed that I had a hunger meter along with energy, health, water, weight, and experience. So this was a survival game, like an early version of Rust. I continued out amongst the trees and found that I could swim. An important first step in any journey. I found my first enemy. It was a rookie revenant. I couldn't figure out how to shoot my bow at it, so I died pretty quickly. It took maybe 5 hits before I was dead. Not a great start, but I'll admit I didn't look at the controls, as I just wanted to explore and see what the game had to offer. I respawned next to a dog who looked pretty happy to see me. I'm probably the first player he's seen in a while. I walked around the starting area and saw empty buildings in every direction. I entered so many just to be met with nothing of interest. I'm not sure if this area was made by someone or if it was created by the devs. It said I couldn't mess with most of the stuff in this area. That's kind of what I expected. The sun was rapidly dropping from the sky. I would need to head out into the dark of night. Once I read through the tutorial, I was able to figure out the buttons for combat and change to a first-person view. The game didn't change how it operated once I changed it though. It was still the same controls, only I could see in a first-person view now. It was fine, but not that much more immersive. I decided I wanted to try and get some food now. I ran across the forests and along the coast, but found not a single animal to hunt. That doesn't seem right. I had to eat something, but I couldn't find anything to eat. I might starve to death before I can explore the game as much as I want. I finally found a deer. It was inside of a structure. I approached it, but it didn't even respond to me. I clicked on the deer and saw that it was someone's pet. Well, I'd feel bad for eating someone's pet, even if they just left it here until the servers died. I found a trail of fallen trees that looked like they were acting like a guide for me. I wasn't sure what could be waiting for me at the end, but I was eager to check it out. I was hoping to run into at least one person while playing. From my research, the game should have at least a couple dozen players online at any given time. The trail finally came to a clearing. There was another settlement here. This one had a very interesting looking watchtower. I climbed it but found that I couldn't light the beacon because I didn't own the structure. This was becoming a trend, where there just weren't any resources for me as a new player. I clicked on one of the structures. It looked like a covered wagon. It said that the last time that it was used was 561 days ago. That means that the person who owned this thing hasn't logged in over a year. Yet the structure was still there as if they were coming back at any moment. Much like all the pets were following me around like they were just happy to see someone. This whole area was the same story. Every object I clicked on said that it had been used 561 days ago. There were even usernames for those who owned the items. It felt more and more desolate as I explored. The feeling of being alone was something I've encountered a lot while exploring these virtual worlds, but this one feels even more so. Every building holds the time and date of the last use, and none were even within the year. The remnants of what might have been a thriving community once now all lie barren and neglected. The only thing this game is missing is a decay system. That would really drive home the feeling of abandonment this game exudes. There's some love and creativity here, but that is long gone now. The only thing that is left to do is see what else might be lurking in this world. I left the safety of the settlement and ran into the woods. I needed to see if there was more, if there was something. The loneliness was strong in this game. I found another dog, but it was running towards me faster than the others had. Oh, that's not a dog. That's an enemy wolf. Too bad, the models look so similar. He killed me before I even got to try out the combat system again. I restarted in the main city and took a walk around the perimeter. There was a surprisingly nice view of the ocean and the moon just outside. It isn't the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but it was serene and almost nostalgic for some reason. I couldn't stay here long as my hunger meter kept draining. I returned to the first settlement and saw an enemy. I tried to fight it 2 different times, but fell both times. The game may have an interesting idea with a constant digital world for all to share, but the combat is terrible. I decided to leave my search here. I wasn't making any progress since I kept dying before making it very far from the starting point. It was an interesting sounding game, but I just couldn't find anything worth digging up here. I didn't even run into another player the entire time, which is kind of a letdown, because maybe they could have shown me something worth seeing here.